Ever hear a metallic rattle for a second or two when you start the car cold? Feel a shaky idle that smooths out only when you raise the revs a bit? Maybe the check engine light keeps popping back on with no obvious reason. Those are the kinds of hints your engine gives you when timing starts to drift. And when timing drifts, the timing chain is almost always in that story. Catch it early and you're swapping a timing set on your schedule. Miss it and you could be shopping for an engine. In this video, we're going through the 11 signs your timing chain is failing, what each sign means inside the engine, simple checks you can do right now, and the smartest path to a real fix before things get ugly. And hey, welcome to AutoV Fix, where we help you diagnose and fix your car problems in an easy-to-follow steps. Let's get on the same page. The chain links the crank to the cam so valves and pistons move in sync. It lives behind the timing cover, rides on guides, and stays tight with a tensioner that uses oil pressure and spring force. Chains don't stretch like rubber. The pins and plates wear. The clearances open up. Slack grows. Once slack grows past what the tensioner can control, valve events drift. That's when the noises start. Then the drivability issues. Then, in a worst case, contact between valves and pistons. That's why listening early matters. Sign 1. A rattle at startup. It's quick, sharp, and sounds like metal chatter from the front of the engine. You'll hear it for a second or two on cold start. Sometimes it fades as oil pressure builds. Sometimes it returns at hot idle. That sound is a loose chain slapping guides or a tensioner that's bleeding down overnight. If it gets longer over time, that's your first big clue. Quick check. Stand by the bumper. Listen right after the first fire. If the tick is high and slow, think injectors. If it's fast, metallic, and low in the front cover area, think chain. Sign 2. Hesitation when you tip into the throttle. You press the gas and it feels flat. Not a dead misfire, just lazy and late. That's what a few degrees of drift feels like. Airflow and spark aren't lining up with piston motion. Torque drops, you compensate by pressing harder. Fuel economy suffers. If your car used to feel crisp and now has a soft spot in the mid-range, timing drift belongs on the list. Sign 3. The check engine light with correlation codes. Scan it. P0016 and P00017 are the big ones. They tell you the computer compared the cam and crank signals and they didn't agree. You may also see slow phaser response or range performance codes. Clear them and they come back quickly? That's not a fluke. That's the chain and its partners saying they're at the end of their adjustment range. Sign 4. Misfires. A chain that's jumped a tooth will put valve events in the wrong place entirely. Cylinders fire unevenly. The idle gets rough. Power drops. The exhaust note feels choppy. You might smell raw fuel. You'll often see misfire counters climb across multiple cylinders, not just one coil or one plug. When misfires show up with P0016 and P0017, don't throw ignition parts at it. Focus on timing first. Sign 5. Metal in the oil. During an oil change, pour a bit of the old oil through a clean container and look under bright light. Cut the filter and wipe the pleats on white paper. A little sparkle over a long interval can be normal wear. Flakes or shimmering glitter in quantity are not. That's metal coming from the chain, the sprockets, or the tensioner shoe. Plastic crumbs in the pan or stuck to the pickup screen point to warn guides. If you see either, shorten your oil interval now and plan an inspection behind the cover. Sign 6. Rough idle and a visible shake. Watch the tach. The needle dips and rises a hair. The tailpipe quivers with uneven puffs. Put the car in drive with your foot on the brake. The whole cabin buzzes more than it used to. Shift to neutral and it improves a bit. That's what out of time feels like. Air and fuel are arriving at the wrong moment, so cylinders don't contribute evenly. Mounts, vacuum leaks, and dirty throttle bodies can do this too. But pairing rough idle with the startup rattle or correlation codes points right back to the chain. Sign 7. Cam phaser complaints. Many engines use oil-controlled phasers to advance or retard the cam. Old oil, low oil, or debris can slow them down. A worn chain confuses their feedback. You'll see codes for slow response or performance. The engine may sound like marbles in a can during a warm restart. If changing oil quiets it for only a short time, the mechanical wear is winning and you're into timing set territory. Sign 8. Idle surging. The revs hunt up and down a couple hundred RPM with no input. The computer is chasing a moving target because timing and airflow aren't consistent. You might also notice it smooths if you lightly raise the revs. That's because a little more speed and oil pressure can stabilize a marginal tensioner. It's a hint, not a cure. Sign 9. Odd exhaust smell and tailpipe rhythm. Timing that's late or erratic leaves fuel unburned. You'll smell it. You'll see the pipe thump and puff unevenly. You can even lay a light piece of paper near the tip and watch it pulse irregularly. If you feel this and see a rough idle with misfires and correlation codes, timing is the thread tying those clues together. Sign 10. Hard starting or a no start. A chain that has jumped multiple teeth can make the engine crank weird. It slows, speeds, and sounds labored. Sometimes it catches and dies. If it snaps, it won't start at all. On an interference design, every crank attempt risks bending valves. If cranking sounds off and you suspect a jump, stop trying to will it to start. Tow it and verify timing before any more attempts. Sign 11. Remote start suddenly disabled while the check engine light is on. That system usually shuts off as soon as the light sets. On its own, that means little. But if it shows up alongside that startup rattle, shaky idle, or correlation codes, it's one more sign the chain issue has the computer on alert. Now, why do chains go bad? Two big reasons. Oil and heat. Oil does the heavy lifting here. Old, fuel-diluted, or wrong-spec oil can't hold a film where the chain slides over guides and wraps sprockets. Modern turbo direct injection engines also load oil with fine particles that behave like abrasive grit. Those particles wedge into the tiny clearances at each pin. Over time, the clearances open. That's the stretch. Run the engine low on oil and the hydraulic tensioner can't keep up. It bleeds down. Slack appears, slack becomes slap, slap becomes jump. Support parts matter too. Guides groove and crack. Tensioners leak down or run out of travel. Sprocket teeth wear thin. Any weak link lets the rest of the set beat itself up faster. Overheating makes all of this worse. Hot oil breaks down. Plastics harden and crumble. A few traffic jam overheats can shave years off a chain set. So what should you do the moment you suspect timing trouble? Start with the easy wins you can do cleanly and safely. Check the oil level on level ground. Top it to the mark with the exact spec if it's low. If you're due for a change or even close, service it now with the correct viscosity and a quality filter. Listen at the next cold start. Sometimes fresh oil shortens the rattle right away. That's good information. It doesn't mean you're done, but it confirms oil control is part of the story. Scan for codes. If you see P0016 or P0017, don't just clear them and hope. Look at live data. Watch commanded versus actual cam angle at idle and during light blips. If actual lags or wanders at steady idle, the chain or the phaser circuit is unhappy. Clear the codes, drive a short loop, and scan again. Fast return means the condition is persistent. If your engine has a serviceable oil control valve, the solenoid that feeds the phaser, pull it and check the screen. Clean debris carefully or replace the valve if the screen is damaged. Sometimes that restores crisp phaser control, especially if your only symptom is a cam phaser code with no rattle. If you still have noise or correlation codes, the root cause is mechanical. On some older pushrod engines with a distributor, there's a quick slack check. Set the crank at top dead center, note the distributor rotor position, then gently rock the crank pulley in the reverse direction of normal rotation. If the crank moves more than about 7 degrees before the rotor twitches, slack is excessive. Modern distributorless engines won't give you that trick, so you'll rely on scan data, noise patterns, and eventually an inspection behind the cover. If the rattle is loud and consistent, don't keep driving it to see if it goes away. Every mile sheds more material into the oil and raises the chance of a jump. If it already jumped and you think your engine is an interference design, towing is the safe call. Let's talk about fixes that actually solve the problem. The right way to do this is a timing set. Chain, guides, tensioner, and usually sprockets. On engines with variable cam timing, include phasers if they're worn or known weak points. Replace seals, the front cover gasket, and the crank pulley bolt. Clean out the pan pickup if you found debris. Flush and refill with the correct oil. Set the timing marks precisely. Use the proper locking tools. Follow the torque sequence. A partial repair, like only a tensioner on a chewed chain, comes back noisy and wastes your labor. Costs depend on layout. A simple inline 4 is a straightforward day in the bay. A transverse V6 with dual overhead cams tucked against the firewall is more hours and more parts. That's why early action saves money. You control the job before a jump bends valves and turns a timing service into a cylinder head rebuild. Want to avoid all this? Here's what works. Stick to oil changes on time with the exact spec oil. If your engine family is known for chain issues, choose a high-quality synthetic that is proven against chain elongation testing, and shorten your interval a bit. Keep the level at the mark. Fix leaks at the timing cover and cam phaser solenoids so the system doesn't starve. Don't drive an overheating engine. Heat kills oil and plastics fast. If you do a lot of short trips, the oil never fully warms, so fuel and moisture build up. Change it more often. Listen to cold starts. A new rattle that wasn't there last month is worth checking this month. Let's wrap with a quick practical flow you can use today. Cold start rattle shows up for 1 to 3 seconds. Note it. Change oil and filter with the correct spec. Recheck over the next 2 or 3 mornings. If it's gone, keep intervals tight and monitor. If it's shorter but still there, scan for P0016, P0017, and phaser codes. If those codes appear or the rattle grows, schedule a timing inspection. Rough idle, tailpipe shaking, odd exhaust smell, and misfires that hop between cylinders. Check for vacuum leaks just to be sure, but if correlation codes are present, put timing at the top of the list. Metal shimmer in the oil or plastic crumbs. Don't wait. Plan a timing set and a thorough clean of the pickup. Hard start or no start with uneven cranking. Stop cranking. Verify mechanical timing before trying again. After repair, have the shop clear adaptations and let the engine relearn idle and phaser control. Recheck oil and coolant levels after the first heat cycle and again after a few drives. Top to the line, not beyond. Then listen. A quiet start and a glass-smooth idle are your proof you're back in sync. If this helped you catch a timing problem before it snowballed, hit the like button so more drivers can find it. Share it with a friend whose car just started rattling on cold mornings. And if you want more car advice in plain English, subscribe to Auto V Fix so you're always one step ahead of your repairs and keeping more money in your pocket. Thanks for watching.